Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. Yeah, this is a radio show, right? It's not a podcast. It's available as a podcast, and you can hear it as a podcast, but it's not a podcast. It doesn't originate as a podcast. It originates, it is produced, it is recorded, it is syndicated, and it is distributed, and it's sold as a radio show. And if you can, I think the best way to listen to the show, if you can, is on your local radio station, your local AM or FM station. But yes, indeed, there is a podcast version available. So what is going on since we've last talked? Weather, right? I mean, we can always, hey, listen, we love the outdoors. Everything we do depends on the weather. Most things depend on the weather. And it's always a topic of discussion. Last time we were here, I was talking about, how nice it was to be cold and chilly. Well, this last week, it was warm and beautiful. Maybe too warm, maybe too beautiful. I think I hunted one day this week, but I also played golf. And I think I enjoyed the golf more than I enjoyed the hunting, because it's hard to get excited about hunting when it's 84 degrees, 82 degrees out. But I take advantage of the situations that are out there, right? Deer activity is indeed picking up as we get closer to Halloween and the magical whitetail rut. If you don't know what the whitetail rut is, it is the breeding season in the whitetail world. It's a time when the testosterone level in the bucks goes up, their wariness goes down, they are more likely to be seen in the daylight hours as opposed to just at night. On our trail cameras right now, we're seeing a lot of buck activity. We're seeing bucks hit licking branches and scrapes. They're starting to pay a little more attention to the does. So far, most of that activity is still at night, although we're seeing a couple of day walkers. That is going to increase and improve and change here over the next several days. Aren't trail cameras an interesting tool we have to use? I mean, on our lease property, we've got them set up everywhere. And I feel like we can monitor all corners of that property without being out there. Is it an unfair advantage? I don't think so, because deer are still going to do what they're going to do. And, you have an idea of what's out there and where they are when, but that's no guarantee they're going to show up in front of you while you're out there hunting. But they are a very valuable tool. I never would have dreamed when I was a kid that we would have had something that you could keep an eye on the deer movement. When I was a younger hunter, if you didn't see a deer or a rub or a scrape, you didn't know. And when I was a kid, I was so stupid. I didn't know what a rub or a scrape was. I'd see those things out there and like, okay, I wonder what made that. And just to be clear, people confuse these a lot. A rub is on a tree. A scrape is on the ground. You will often see them together near each other, but they're not the same thing. A rub is on the tree, a scrape is on the ground. If they're along that line, if for the most part, if something is if a spot you're going to hunt from is up in a tree, it's a stand, and a blind is on the ground. Now, I have seen some tree stands that looked like they could have been blinds because they were, pretty enclosed and pretty comfortable, but just a little deer hunting vernacular here. But it's going to get better, and I'm excited because I can feel it's not passion yet, but I can feel my interest coming back in deer hunting. And I'm really quite surprised this year that I'm really looking forward to the gun season, because I want to put that Michigan-made Brenton 350 Legend to use in the whitetail woods. After I saw what it did for my Michigan black bear, I said, man, that's a very, very effective tool, and I'm going to use it for deer hunting, and I'm pretty excited about it. What else is going on? Hey, while you're in the deer woods, have you seen a flock of turkeys walk by? Probably. Do you have a fall turkey tag in your pocket? I don't know. I have one in mine. The last time I went out, in fact, I went out hunting with my granddaughter, Addison. I wasn't going to hunt, but she said she was going to hunt. I said, listen, if I have a chance to go hunt with my granddaughter, I don't care what the weather is. I don't care what my schedule is. I'm going. But knowing that the food plot that I was going to sit over, I've already killed a doe. Now I'm buck hunting. I'm not trophy hunting, but I am buck hunting. And I did not expect to see a buck of any size wander through that food plot. But there had been turkeys wandering through there. So I'll be honest with you. That night sitting in the blind, I was as much turkey hunting as anything. It was a passive style of turkey hunting. I didn't have decoys in front of me, and I wasn't calling, but I was kind of waiting for a flock of birds to walk by. And if I saw a longbeard come in front of me, I was going to shoot it. The angler quest is now out of the water. My son James came over. He helped me pull it out of the water. Here's a little note. It didn't cause any problems, but something to be aware of. If you keep your trailer out in the elements and you've had it out there for a few years, check your winch strap. Those things do deteriorate. We loaded up the Angler Quest. We had it winched up to the front of the trailer, and as we were pulling it out of the slip, the winch strap broke. It was basically rotted. Now, it was fine. The boat was already on the trailer, didn't cause any problems. We just tied an overhand knot in the strap, and we were able to tighten it down. But just something to be aware of. Those boat winch straps do certainly rot. Be aware of that. Also, where I was on Saginaw Bay, the water levels were crazy down. It had been a southwest wind. The channel where I come out was usually 5 feet of water. There was 2.5. When I got up to the boat launch to pull the boat, there was 1.9 feet of water underneath my transducer. And that was enough to make me a little bit nervous. Next, a couple things coming up. Next Wednesday night, we will do a Wednesday night live at Jay's Sporting Goods in Clare to help kick off deer camp. It's to help us get ready for the firearm deer season. Matt Poet will be joining me here after the break to talk more about that. So we'll have some details. But keep an eye out for that Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, Wednesday night live at Jay's Sporting Goods in Clare. Speaking of dates, and this one's down the road, but we just set the date, so I thought I'd let you know. Remember what a big deal I made about the first annual Mike Avery Outdoors charity golf outing last summer to benefit MUCC's youth camp? It was a huge success, and we vowed at the time to do another one. It's going to be an annual event. Last year's event was on a Monday at the West Branch Country Club. It was Monday because that's the only day we could get the course. I would prefer to do it on a Friday so you could make a long weekend out of it, and that's what we have this year. So Friday, July 25th, mark your calendar. Friday, July 25th is the second annual Mike Avery Outdoors charity golf outing at the West Branch Country Club. What we're going to do from now on is make it the last Friday in July. So when you get your new calendar, mark the last Friday in July, and you'll know when to join us. A couple of interesting comments from listeners this week. David Stacy sent me an email. He said, Mike, I was listening to you guys talk about the Sportsmen Against Hunger program. He said, I'm not a hunter, but I want to help out. How can I do that? He said, never mind. I already did some research. He said, if you go to the website, sportsmenagainsthunger.org, you can make a donation whether you're a hunter or not. Also, Cameron Jones wants me to point out, he says, Mike, you talk about that we as hunters these days have to portray ourselves in a positive manner. He was sitting at on the bank of the Asaba River, and he saw a complete deer hide come floating by. And he said, a lot of people saw that. And he said, that makes us look like litterers and beyond. You cannot legally in Michigan dispose of any part of an animal in the water. Like in Alaska, you can. I think in Florida, you can. You can't do that here in Michigan. So this deer hide comes floating down the river. He said, please remind people that folks are looking at us. And I agree. Folks are looking at us as hunters and anglers and shooters and trappers. They want to see what we're doing because they want to find a chink in the armor. Don't give them that chink. Don't do something stupid like that. Coming up on this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, Matt Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods will join me. Now, it was Matt's mom, Kathy, that first made the connection for me with Jay's Sporting Goods. I've known Matt since he was a kid. I mean, a little tiny kid. He needed 2 fingers to pull the trigger on a BB gun. That's how small he was. Now he's their marketing director. We're going to talk about what's going on at Jay's these days, about the Michigan buck poll that Jay's is involved in, and also the Wednesday Night Live, the kickoff their deer camp as well. Then Brent Pike of the Michigan Wildlife Council. Michigan Wildlife Council, their whole goal is to promote and preserve and protect hunting and fishing here in Michigan. So I'm behind those guys 100%. We'll see what's up there. In our second hour, Rich Chrzan of Killer Food Plots talking about their lineup of sensitive attractants for the rut, but also a product they have. Now, it may be a little bit late to use it for this year, but something to keep in mind. With the big EHD outbreak we had, EHD is caused by midges, little midge flies. If you treat your ponds or the water on your property or swamp or whatever with this product, it can prevent that from happening. So we'll talk about that for sure. Russ Clark of Seahawk Charters down in St. Joe talks about the fishing, how it's been with the water levels so low. Can you still get fish? And then Sergeant Mike Mshar answers this week's Ask Avery question. And in hour number 3, one of the best extreme long-range shooters in the world, his name is Paul Phillips. Always look forward to my conversations with Paulie, as I call him. And then, of course, we'll wrap it all up with Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. So we got a lot coming up on this week's show. I'm so glad that you were with us. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine Radio. There's also a podcast version of. My website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's MikeAveryOutdoors.com. On that website, you can get to all my different social media outlets. My email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I want to hear from you. Send your pictures. I want to see them. Send them to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. We will take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, Matt Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods. Jay's Sporting Goods, the original advertising partner for me and everything I've done over the years. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK. That's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in the Thumb, Sandusky, WMIC, 660 AM and 95.3 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in the Sioux on WKNW. That's 1400 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the company that makes this sound. That's the sound of my Rapid River knife coming out of my pocket and clicking back open. Rapid River knives made by craftsmen in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Lifetime guarantee. I carry one all the time. Exciting things going on at Rapid River right now. They have partnered with another UP icon, and that's Stormy Cromer, for a special edition a knife. Go to the website, rapidriverknifeworks.com. That's rapidriverknifeworks.com. There you can use the promo code Avery10 to get 10% off. If you go to their showroom on US 2, just east of Rapid River, use that same promo code Avery10 to get 10% off. By the way, Rapid River knives are also, they have a great selection at Jay's Sporting Goods. Now, the reason I mentioned Jay's Sporting Goods, my first guest this week is Matt Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods. Matt is part of the Poet family that I have worked with for so many years. And I've said many times, Jay's was my first advertising partner. In many ways, they made it possible for me to start down this path, this venture, this adventure. So I have an extreme amount of loyalty to the folks at Jay's Sporting Goods and the Poet family. Hey, Matt, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Good, Mike. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great because it's a good time of year. It's a great time of year.
It is a great time of year.
It's got to be getting busy. It's got to be getting busy at the stores right now, isn't it?
It is. It'd probably be a little busier if it cooled down a little bit, but other than that, it's that time of year.
That's interesting. I was just talking about the weather and with it being so warm, I'd almost rather go play golf than hunt right now. And I hadn't really taken the next step. Yeah, that affects you guys too, doesn't it?
It does. When it's this warm, people aren't getting that chill. So, they forget that, that jacket I had last year that, I've had for 5, 10, 15 years is, needs replaced. A lot of people are hunting in, warm weather clothes right now. And a lot of people just don't want to get out as much as they would. If you harvest a deer, you have very limited time to track it, get it to the processor and whatnot. So there's just a lot of things. But like you said, I saw that you just put the boat away not too long ago. A lot of people still have their boats in the water, want to stay out on the water. People want to go golfing, and it is hard not to do that when the weather's like this right now.
Yeah, but the calendar is moving this direction. The rut is coming up. We're going to be out in the woods. We're going to be hunting. Colder weather is coming. And along that line, Matt, this Wednesday coming up, as folks are hearing the show, this Wednesday coming up, I'm going to be doing a Wednesday night live at your Claire store for a deer camp kickoff. Let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so it's it's the annual time of year for deer camp. We always celebrate starting November 1st all the way through the 14th, and so we have our annual deer camp kickoff sale where essentially the items that you're going to be buying anyways for deer camp, we have everything you need here and at a rate that is good for the pocket.
Excellent. So we will be up there. Folks can see what the store looks like, and then hopefully they can come by and visit and take advantage of what you have. Speaking of deer, speaking of harvest, you guys at Jay's are also very closely aligned with the Michigan buckpole, right?
Very close, yes. Yes, we work with them hand in hand, and actually I help moderate and work on their website and postings.
Well, I have some experience with moderating deer hunting conversations. Sometimes that can be a full-time job, can't it?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of good folks out there, and then it's a lot of them you feel like you're babysitting.
Yeah.
I think sometimes my 5, 3, and 1 year old are more well behaved than some folks online, but it is what it is, I guess.
It is. But I always make this plea, and I'll make it again now. In today's world, where we as hunters have a spotlight on us, we need to be more cognizant than ever and more aware than ever that our reputation and how we present ourselves is important. And when these crybabies and these idiots get online and make these stupid statements, they make us all look stupid, and I resent it. So on my page, I do ban delete.
Yep. Yeah, and I've always been one of benefit of the doubt, second chances. So I do a lot of moderating of deleting comments. We get a lot of posts this time of year, and I think to back to your point, there is so much inner fighting that is unnecessary. The biggest one, I'm sure you see it too, is the big compound crossbow, battle that people feel that because you shoot a compound bow, you are for some reason a better hunter or have more rights than someone who shoots a crossbow. And unfortunately, they're both legal. They both get people out in the woods, and they both present their positives for whoever's using it.
Sure,
and so it's illegal. It's a legal way to harvest. It's a legal way that a lot of people who weren't able to get in the woods before can now get in the woods. And it's the same conversation that we had, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, actually, when compounds and traditional archers were having the same conversation. So it's just, that's probably the biggest one that I've seen. This year seems like it's the worst. Years past it hasn't been as bad, but for some reason this year just seems to be the thing that's splitting the hairs with everyone. And it's just sad to see that, we have bigger fish to fry, and we're arguing over what cam's better.
Just curious, when crossbows were first made legal for everybody several years ago, I know that you guys there at Jay's and everywhere else across the state were selling more crossbows than compounds. Has that kind of evened out these days? Which is more popular from the bow hunters?
It has not. For the bow hunters, the crossbow is definitely probably outsells them 2 to 1.
Does it really?
More. It does. There's a lot of variables to that. Time is just more things occupy our time anymore with travel sports, with kids, with, you just try spending more time, doing other things and people, and just, I don't see the gatherings together as much as I used to of 5, 10, 15 people getting together in their yard and just shooting together. So I that time is just split up, but it's getting people out in the woods. The other thing that it did is there's a lot of hunters that were unable to pull their crossbows back. The older generation who had to wait till November 15th to get back out in the woods, and we do see a lot more folks, new hunters, older hunters and guys that have just been beat up their body who are unable to pull back a bow anymore, and they still get the same thrill,
sure.
out in the woods with a crossbow as they did with a compound, and that's what it's about. It's about getting out in the woods, and it's to each their own. I mean, if whether you're a fly fisherman or a troller or whatever you do, it's however a person wants to fish, however a person wants to hunt. It's their right, and we shouldn't be bashing each other. We have other things that we should be fighting against rather than each other on what method of harvest you had.
Absolutely, I could not agree more. And I want to before we move on, I want to go back to Michigan buckpole for a minute. You had said, in fact, I was on there this morning again. It's amazing the number of pictures you get coming in, and you had said, look, if you know how to use this concept of Michigan buckpole, you can actually use it as a resource. What do you mean by that, Matt?
Yeah, so a lot of people, when they hear Michigan buckpole, they think of us on, Facebook and Instagram. What a lot of people don't know is we actually have a website. So everything that we post on our website actually goes through, or gets posted on social media channels, actually goes through our website first. And so how it can be a good resource, excuse me, is if you go to our website, you can break down essentially the state of Michigan of how the harvests have come in. So you can say, okay, I want to look at, let's just say Clare County, because that's where, Jay's Sporting Goods is. And so I want to look at Clare County. I want to see what deer have been harvested at with a bow in the morning. So we have a filtration system that you can filter down to see exactly, what time, not what time, but, midday, morning or afternoon, what county. So it's a great resource to be able to go on there and say, okay, what's going on in my area? And a lot of guys go on there and say, hey, what bucks are being seen in my area? Or if I've been seeing a deer and I haven't seen him in a while, I know of some folks that have gone on there and been like, oh, yep, I checked my county. And,
there he is.
There he is. So there's pros and cons to it, to the sense that, you might have the passion that drove you all summer. The one that you're looking at happens to be gone, but shouldn't keep you out of the woods. But at least you know that, to not be targeting him anymore and going after a different one. So, but it's a great resource. I mean, it's fun to see all the stories, what's being harvested, the quality of deer that's been harvested. I think, I've been doing this since 2019. The quality of deer I think has increased quite a bit too.
The website for Michigan Buckpole is MichiganBuckpole.com. I think MichiganBuckpole.com. The website for Jay's is JaySportingGoods.com. Can we actually shop on that website, Matt? I mean, I know you want us to come into the stores, Claire or Gaylord, and I want to come into the stores. But if you need something and can't get up there, is that a viable option these days?
Absolutely, yes. You can shop at both stores. You can shop to see what we have in stock, and if you find something you like, you can come in store as well and buy it, or buy it online. And the one thing that's hard is because we still are a bigger mom and pop store. We're not a nationwide brand. So we have, we do have limited resources. So everything that we offer in store is not on the website. So that's the downfall of the website. We try to get as much on there as we can, but when you carry hundreds of thousands of SKUs,
sure.
We just don't have the manpower and the time to be able to get all those on there. But we do have a lot of product on there that is made available for you.
And next Wednesday night, on Wednesday Night Live, 7 o'clock, we will show folks some of those products. We'll be walking through, primarily, I'm sure, the hunting department, and talking to folks there. That's Wednesday night at 7 o'clock on my Facebook page, YouTube channel, Twitter, or now called X, and LinkedIn. And I think we can set that up so you can live stream it from your Facebook page too, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Matt, listen, we got to take a break. We're talking to Matt Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods, JaySportingGoods.com, JaySportingGoods.com. I was searching through some old video. It's been a while now, but I found video of Matt when he was just a little guy. He was shooting a BB gun, and he was so little, it took him 2 fingers to pull the trigger on the BB gun. That's how long I've known Matt Poet. These days, he's running the marketing department at the biggest family-owned outdoor superstore in Michigan. How cool is that? Jay's Sporting Goods. And if you want to learn more about Michigan Buckpole, that's MichiganBuckpole.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, a few more things to talk about with Matt, and then we'll wrap up the hour with Brent Pike of the Michigan Wildlife Council. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine, and I'm so glad to have you along with us. hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Caro on two stations, WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Marquette, WDMJ 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. I was at Linwood Beach just the other day as I pulled the Angler Quest out of the water for the season. Took it up to Linwood Beach. Need to be cleaned up. I had it all cleaned up, but I need the tubes power washed again and a couple things tweaked, and she'll be ready to rock again. If you are going to be fishing this fall for Saginaw Bay, big Saginaw Bay walleye or perch, Linwood Beach Marina is your place. Beautiful location, great people, wonderful facilities. If it's time to pull your boat for the season, they can winterize your boat, they can shrink wrap your boat. And if we do get ice this year, think of Linwood Beach as your place to jump off on Saginaw Bay. The website, linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. Right now, talking with Matt Poet of Jay's Sporting Goods. Their website, jaysportinggoods.com. Michigan Buckpole is michiganbuckpole.com. Matt, this weekend here, as folks are here in the radio show, you're wrapping up a Ruger sale. You got my attention with that. You talk about a 1022. That I think everybody should have a 1022, but you've got a lot more. Tell me about this sale.
Yeah, it's going on. So obviously, 1022 is a big day. It's actually considered a national holiday now.
I did not know that.
We have our Rugers. Yeah. Well, maybe it's not national. But it's considered a holiday. They got how you go about that process. I don't know, but it's actually considered a holiday. So
that's cool.
So yeah, it is. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we have a lot of stuff going on. All Ruger firearms. Except the American Gen 2 and 1022 are 10% off, but the 1022s aren't 10% off. That's because you get several free items with it. With the purchase of a 1022, you get some 22 rifle ammo with it, a Ruger hat, backpack, 10-round magazine, rimfire cleaning kit, muff shooting glass combo kit, a sling. So there's a lot of stuff that comes with that purchase. And that goes from now until the 27th. 27th.
Speaking of ammo, how is availability? Is that all worked its way out? Can we get anything we want these days?
There's still items that are difficult, but for the most part, we're in a lot better position than what we've been in the past, for sure.
And looking forward to the firearm season, I feel like the straight-walled guns, the 350s, the 450s, the new 41 Great Lakes, and some others. I mean, is that the hottest seller in the gun department these days?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, it's just when you're south of the M20 line, when you're in that shotgun zone, it just makes sense to use a straight wall cartridge. So that's probably been the hottest thing, and probably the it's made a pretty good difference. It can get a little farther, a little more accurate, and it just makes sense.
I had the privilege of working on a project for your 50th anniversary a couple of years ago. And, we sat down, we did a video. A lot of it centered around your grandpa, Jay Poet, who started Jay's Sporting Goods. What is your niche these days? Where do you see you guys going? I've asked Jeff this several times, and I'll tell you straight out. Every time I have Jeff on, I say, are we going to see more big Jay's stores? Because if you do that, every company that's got a vacant Kmart is going to come knocking on your door, and you know that.
And they already do. we see it all the time. It's fun to get those. I actually handle a lot of the contact us and those kind of interactions, and I see that quite a bit. Hey, we have a empty Kmart building. Actually, I think I just saw that the last Kmart shut its doors, I think, in the U.S. I don't know if they're out of the U.S., but I'm pretty sure that there is no Kmart any longer. But anyways, if there's a vacancy, or even if there's not, everyone's always like, hey, it'd be great to have one here in Grand Rapids or Traverse City or in the Thumb, in the UP. So we get hit up quite a bit. So LP&S, so I kind of covered the whole state with all that. But we see a lot of it, and we're grateful. We have a lot of fans and a lot of followers, but yeah, we never take it off the table. I'll put it that way.
Well, people want a Jay's in their backyard because you have what we need. Now, you are a destination. There's no doubt about that. People will drive from anywhere in our state and beyond to hit your Claire store or your Gaylord store. So you do have that going for you. How do you keep this momentum? How do you compete with these big corporate conglomerates when you are still a family-owned Michigan-based store?
I think the difference is, we're not just selling the product. We're actually using the product. If you come and talk to our staff, they are on their days off. They're doing the things that everyone else that comes to shop at our store is doing. So it's not like, we just hire anybody. These guys are passionate just like we are. We are a family-owned business. We are in Michigan. We care about, our Michigan family. And we take care of you. We stand behind what we sell. I think the biggest thing is the experience we provide, the knowledge we provide. And like I said, the stuff we're selling, we have it, we're carrying it because we use it, and it's the stuff we trust.
Matt, always a pleasure. I will look forward to seeing you next Wednesday night as we do a Wednesday night live at the Claire store. That's Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, where we can talk more and show people what you have to offer. Have a great season. Enjoyed our conversation. We'll talk again soon.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Talk to you soon.
All right, Matt Boat of Jay's Sporting Goods. jaysportinggoods.com is their website, jaysportinggoods.com. And going back to a previous part of our conversation with Matt, if you're interested in the Michigan Buck Poll, their website is michiganbuckpoll.com, michiganbuckpoll.com. Hey, while I'm throwing out websites, mine is mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Put a plug in for me, too. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up this opening hour of the show with Brent Pike of the Michigan Wildlife Council right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY. There's a text right there, Charlie. WCBY, that is 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX, and you can hear us, let's go to Traverse City, WTCM 580 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Premier Maritime Training. If you've ever wanted to get your captain's license, I think this is your best bet. Captain John Littlefield taught my captain's class, and believe me, if he can help me get my captain's license, he can help you as well to become a licensed charter captain. Check out their website, pmtcaptains.com, for more info. That's pmtcaptains.com. John has classes across the state. I'm sure you can find one to fit your schedule. That's pmtcaptains.com. A common theme of this show, the last quite a while now, has been centered around the history and tradition of the outdoors in our great state of Michigan. In fact, I would say that is what my goal is, to promote and encourage and protect in whatever way I can hunting and fishing and shooting and trapping. That's why when the group called the Michigan Wildlife Council was formed a few years ago, I said, I need to work with these people because I think they're going to do great work. And they are. Brent Pike is on the Michigan Wildlife Council, and he's on the Outdoor Magazine phone line as well. Brent, welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing well, Mike. How are you?
Wonderful. How's your fall?
Too darn warm. I mean, it's been, I went out grouse hunting yesterday afternoon with a buddy, and we each heard many grouse flush, but it's just, how many did you miss because you're just crunch, 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 crunch.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It was 73 degrees out in the end of October. It's crazy.
It is crazy. How are things going at the Michigan Wildlife Council? I know you're looking at maybe slightly tweaking the message. What can you tell me, Brent?
Yeah, we're working on getting a little bit more, I don't know if you want to use the word in your face, but that's probably the best way to explain kind of what we're doing is, just going right out and telling people about hunting and fishing. We kind of have been skirting the edges for years, trying to, soften some of the people we can change their minds, the open-minded people about hunting and fishing. And we feel like we've really moved the needle on that to get people that were, not negative hunting, but not positive hunting. We've got them to think more, more positively about hunting. So we're changing the angle and trying to go a little bit more, saying, hey, not only is it, neutral, it's good, and we want to explain to you why it's good and maybe why you should go out and try doing it yourself, So that's really kind of the angle we're working towards right now, is trying to educate people even further on, hey, hunting isn't a neutral thing. Fishing isn't a neutral thing. This is a really good thing for, wildlife, for conservation, for our state's economy.
And you've done, Michigan Wildlife Council and Good Marketing, have done an extensive amount of research over the years to track how this is doing. And you say you are seeing an impact?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the Good Marketing has done a fantastic job. That's where a lot of our dollars go, is spending money on market research to find out, all right, is this message that we're sending out there, is it impactful? And we have absolutely seen the needle move in a positive direction in the demographic we're looking at. And again, for your audience that may not be familiar, this is an audience that not necessarily, hunting and fishing communities. And we're really, featured in Southeast Detroit, is really kind of where we're, there's a large population of people there, and a large population of those people are far more urban than the rest of the state, and just have not had an opportunity to maybe experience hunting and fishing. So we've absolutely seen, the positives of that, and looking forward to driving, those people even further down the line into, maybe even wanting to pick up a fishing pole themselves, or go on a turkey hunt or a deer hunt or something like that.
Yeah, my radio audience is not really your target audience because we already get it. But I do want my radio audience to know what you folks are doing, because what you're doing directly impacts us. And I think in some ways we're helping to fund this whole thing too, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, $1 from every license that is sold is earmarked for the Michigan Wildlife Council. And now these are all non-paid, all myself and all the other council members are non-paid positions. We're not getting paid to do this stuff. And many of us, forfeit days of work and pay for our hotel rooms and food and stuff like that to go do this stuff. But yeah, we're using that money to try to educate and inform, the general population about hunting and fishing. And we know that hunting and fishing rights can be taken away on a ballot initiative pretty quickly. We've seen it happen in many other states where, it's a death by 1,000 cuts, right? Well, we're just going to outlaw, trapping of this. Oh, okay. Well, that seems fair enough to some people. And then, if we can't trap, beavers underwater, then we really shouldn't trap, raccoons above land. And the next thing you know, it's just that slippery slope that we all worry about. And it's true. I mean, we've seen, this is not, some wives' tale. We've seen it happen in, states like Colorado, states like Washington, states like California, where, hunters and fishermen have had their rights eroded, just, death by 1,000 cuts.
It is indeed a real threat. That's why I'm so glad that you, Brent Pike, and the other members of the Michigan Wildlife Council are working, along the line of what you are. The website, by the way, is hereformioutdoors.org, hereformioutdoors.org. Keep up the good work. Have a great season. Hopefully it's going to cool down, and you and I can talk again soon.
Hey, that sounds great. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, Brent, appreciate it. Brent Pike of the Michigan Wildlife Council, the website hereformioutdoors.org. Michigan is only one of 2 states that I'm aware of in the country that have a wildlife council. The other one is Colorado. So I don't have time to get into the whole discussion right now, but as Brent said, this is a real threat, and we need to continue to work on it, and Michigan Wildlife Council is doing just that.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. I cannot tell you how many people tell me, hey, I was listening to your podcast last week. And I said, oh, well, where did you find the podcast? Thinking they're going to tell me about, Amazon Music or Apple Music or SoundCloud or Spotify or Stitcher or something like that. They said, no, I heard it on WSGW. Well, if you heard it on WSGW, it wasn't a podcast. It was a radio show. Now, I know that's a little bit sometimes too much inside baseball, but I feel the need to continue to make that point because everybody has a podcast. Everybody has a podcast, and there are some very, very good podcasts. In fact, I have been guests on some very good podcasts lately, and we've had some great conversations. But a podcasting is a very specific, very finite audience. I'm an old broadcast guy. I take advantage of podcasting, and I make, podcasts of my radio show available. And each month I do podcasts for Offshore Tackle, Angler Quest Boats, and Primal Outdoors. But as a broadcaster, primarily, that is my frame of reference. And I would encourage you, if you can, to listen to the content of the show on your local broadcast, your local radio station. For one thing, they get the content before the podcast version of the show is uploaded. And another reason I make this distinction, because podcasting is everywhere these days and everybody has a podcast, I want to continue to try to set this radio show apart because it is something unique. Now, there are some other outdoor radio shows in Michigan. Nobody has been around longer. Nobody does a 3-hour show. And I'm gonna brag here a little bit. I don't think anybody is as well connected in the outdoor radio world as I am today because I've been around so long and I've met so many people and I have so many friends in the outdoor industry. One of those friends is Rich Chrzan of Killer Food Plots. Now, I started working with Killer Food Plots a few years ago under the direction of a guy named Nick Percy. We unfortunately lost Nick a few years ago, and I was concerned about the future of the company, as I think many other people were. Well, Rich Chrzan had worked for Nick, and Rich said, you know what? Rich and his wife said, we can do this, and we can take it on and make it work. And they did make it work. And these days, Killer Food Plots continues to be a strong, vibrant, viable Michigan-based, family-owned company. And Rich is with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Rich, welcome back. How are you?
I'm good, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great. How is your fall hunting season going?
Mike, I've been out twice, and that was early in October. I take a little different approach to hunting. I like to let all the guys around me pressure the deer onto my properties and let them get comfortable and make that their area. And then I go out starting usually around the 20th. A little late this year. Then I get out there and then I start hunting the deer that everyone's pushed to me, hopefully. So we'll see if that works. Well, I don't know. I'm excited for it.
I got to talk more about that because that is that's a very interesting concept. It makes a lot of sense, but it takes some discipline too, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I went out twice only because the darn trail cameras keep showing this nice buck, right? And when I got out there, I just knew I was doing wrong because I've been doing this for quite a few years, and it's worked well for me just waiting because I know the deer or the hunt pressure around my properties, and they're hunted pretty hard. So, you let them deer start getting their territories and marking those territories, and they're going to do it in a safe zone. So if I'm not back there messing things up, it pushes them in, and hopefully they stay on my property, which has everything they need. It's got bedding, it's got water, and it's got food. So. And I had a beautiful buck out back. Actually, my target buck was right behind the house last night. So this morning was a tough one not to get out there, but I had things going on. So.
Well, you had to do a radio conversation with Avery, so you couldn't go in the woods this morning.
Absolutely. And I knew there'd be deer in front of my blind. And sure enough, at 10 o'clock, I had deer standing right in front of my blind. So I'd have never got out of there, So.
Hey, you mentioned trail cameras, and I was talking about them earlier in the first hour, too. Those things have really changed excuse me, how we hunt and certainly how we look at the properties we're hunting on.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if it's always for the better, I mean, those guys that are sitting at work and their cameras are flashing their target buck out in front of them, and now they're just mad at the world. So they want to get out of work. But yeah, I mean, it really does. It changes the world. In an earlier show, I had explained how I use them to kind of try and figure out the sunlight during the day on my food plots that are in the woods. Because I can't be out there all day. And when something triggers it, it tells me where the sun's at and that time of day. So that works really well for me too. Other than seeing all the nice deer. So,
hey, let's talk about food plots for a minute, because that obviously is the business that you're in primarily. We got a late start on ours, and then this massive drought hit. It was a rough year, I feel like, for some people, like us, who got a late start.
Yes, not even that. I did some properties up north, and I did them in the spring, and we got a heck of a drought, and I even had clover die out this year, which is pretty crazy. It bounded back when we got some rain, but up like the White Cloud area got super dry. And I was going back in and I was replanting late in the season, doing oats and brassicas, and we got some rain. So we got some things turned around for some people. But yeah, I planted my brassicas late this year and we got that drought. And I was getting ready to go rig up a sprinkler system out of a 300-gallon water tote and a submersible pump. It was so bad at one point. Yeah. But, you know, with this extended season, with the 70-degree days, if that soil temp stays up there, we can still get some growth. I mean, I fertilized mine, and it took off pretty good in the last couple of weeks. So the deer are loving it. They're hitting it already. So
much of what you do when you're in the food plot business, I mean, you are dependent on Mother Nature. A lot of the things you need to happen, you have no control over.
No, none. You know, I do have that product, the Retain, which is our moisture nutrient absorbing pellet. You work that into the dirt, and when it rains, it swells up to about a jumbo-sized marble, and holds that moisture and nutrients while it starts drying out, and then it just leaches it back into the root base of the plant. So that really helps out. I have a gentleman in Ohio that told me that is the only thing that saved his clover this year. He said he mowed his 3 times, and everybody else was still trying to get theirs to grow. So it is a game changer.
I talk about that product all the time because I think it's a miracle product. There's no downside to it that I can see.
No, none at all. It's potassium based, so it's just potassium in the soil. You know, it lasts for 3 years. It cycles like that. It swells up and then depletes the water nutrients back into the soil. It does that for 3 years. Once that life cycle's done, it's just potassium for for the dirt. So it's a fantastic product. I put it in a lot of food plots. I usually do it every 2 years, so that way we have it in there, and we didn't wait for it to deplete. But yeah, it is a game changer. It definitely made a difference in Ohio this year. So,
well, speaking of game changers, and it might be a little bit late for this year, but as long as I've got you, I want to talk about this subject. We had a real bad EHD outbreak in southern Michigan. In fact, Chad Stewart of the DNR said it's the worst since 2012. And that's caused, as we all know, by little midge flies that come out of standing water. But you guys actually have a product that I don't think enough people know about it, but it can have a big impact on this. Tell me more about that, Rich.
So, yeah, it's called AquaShield. It is a pond treatment that is actually, what you're doing is you're introducing a mixture of enzymes and nutrients. And what that does is it provides a much-needed source of energy to revive and increase the population of the beneficial aerobic bacteria through multiplication. So basically what it is you add this in to your pond, and it's made to go deepest part of the pond because it's heavier than water. And it goes in there, and it just starts breaking down all that mucky, nasty bottom that the midge fly, the mosquito larvae, no-see-ums, all that larvae is living in there, and they're eating in that organic matter. So this actually puts good bacteria into the water that destroys the bad bacteria, and it suspends that in the water. Now, once it suspends it, that good bacteria starts attacking all that suspension, which includes the larvae for the midge fly and mosquitoes. Well, then the aquatic animals, which it's 100% safe for those, the aquatic animals can get to those larvae, and they eat them also. It's a great product. Battle Creek got really devastated this year. That area did with the EHD. So the trick of it is that you try and you add this to your ponds or your watering holes or your mucky spots in your swamp. You wait for the water to be at the highest level you think it's going to be in the spring, and then you add this to it. So when that water recedes, that chemical or that bacteria are still in the dirt. So it has already ate the midge fly larvae, stirred it all up, the mosquito larvae, and then as it recedes, and the water comes back and they want to hatch, well, that's still there, and then now it's attacking it again.
I got you. But again, this is a springtime application. We're not going to do it now, but it's interesting timing to talk about it now because of the EHD outbreak, something to think about next spring. Rich, hang tight. I got to take a break here on the show. We're talking with Rich Chrzan of Killer Food Plots, the website killerfoodplots.com. That's killerfoodplots.com. I like Rich's concept about letting neighboring pressure push the deer onto your property. Then they think of it as a safe haven, right? But man, I'm not sure I can do that. I'm not sure I can stay out of the woods enough to do that. We'll take a break. When we come back, I want to talk to Rich about something else he has. It's a line of attractants and scents and how you would use that in the upcoming rut, which is just around the corner. We're starting to see some signs of that right now. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on the Twister 92.1 WTWS. You can hear us in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM and north of the bridge in Newberry, WNBY 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by VersaSkins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Why buy a bunch of different sets of expensive hunting clothes when you can buy one good quality set that is warm, windproof, waterproof, water resistant, and snap on, and you can snap on and zip on an outer shell of a different camo pattern in less than a minute. I mean, it doesn't take long at all. I think this is a genius concept. I'm surprised nobody came up with it before, but Paul Perona VersaSkins did. If you go to the website versaskins.com, that's versaskins.com, you can order there, or you can also find them on Amazon. Do a search for VersaSkins brand on Amazon. If you need big sizes, 4, 5, 6X, those sizes are so hard to find in good quality hunting clothes. Well, VersaSkins has you covered, literally. And if you're a saddle hunter, and this was pointed out to me last week, Avery, when you talk about saddle hunters, I thought it was people hunting on horseback. Those saddle hunters are people who wear kind of a leather saddle that they sit in while they're hunting from trees. It's kind of a different concept, but it requires a little bit different type of jacket. And VersaSkins makes one specifically for that as well. Versaskins.com or Amazon.com and do a search for VersaSkins brand. While you're online, please check out the website Killer Food Plots, killerfoodplots.com. We're talking with Rich Chrzan of Killer Food Plots right now. Rich, in your observations and on your cameras and looking out the back door there, have you seen any indication that the bucks are starting to get a little antsy yet?
Yeah, they are. They're pushing. We have a decent 8-point that my daughter's going to try and harvest on Sunday. She thinks it's that easy, but it's not. So he's been pushing them. Not really a full chase, right? But every doe that comes out in the food plot, he's bumping. Craziest thing, I was right in Grand Rapids the other day. I mean, in town, putting my stuff in storage, and there was an 8-point that we actually watched him urinate right down his back legs and sat there and rub his glands together while he was doing it. So that's a good indication where we are getting real close. So
you gotta love those big bucks in the city, don't you? They're not a care in the world because they know they can't be hunted and they drive us crazy.
Oh, I know, and it's like right on Eastern and 36th Street. If anyone's familiar with that area, it's just insane. So, but yeah, the activity out here, we're starting to see the bigger bucks travel a little farther, and I know that because I know a lot of people that hunt around here and they're seeing them. On their property, and then a day later they're over on somebody else's. So they're starting to get there. I'm seeing them more behind my house, and again, I think it's because we have no pressure back there, other than maybe riding a quad to go get some trail cam pics. There's nobody back there. So that 8-point that my daughter really wants, he's been living here now for 2 weeks. So there's a pretty good chance she might get to harvest that one. That'd be pretty exciting.
Oh, that would be cool. And speaking of your daughter, congrats on the recent wedding in the family.
Oh, well, thank you, Mike. The one time that Mother Nature was perfect, and I appreciated that. It was an outdoor venue. and we had just a beautiful day, a beautiful turnout. It was a great day. Thank you.
Isn't that special? I don't want to get too far off track, but isn't that so special to watch your baby girl get married?
Oh, it is. It's unexplainable, really. You have to experience it in order to be able to know what it feels like, for sure.
I don't care how tough a guy is. When you watch your daughter get married, if you don't shed a tear, you're made of stone.
Yeah. I turned my back to people, right? I think I was telling everyone, I cried in the shower like a real man, right?
All right, let's turn our attention back to the topic at hand, and that is deer hunting here in Michigan. You know, we're not putting in food plots right now, right? But we're hunting over killer food plots. But you've got a line of scents and attractants that to be honest with you, I don't know much about, but I'm fascinated by, because I think with this upcoming rut, we could put these to work, couldn't we?
Oh, absolutely. We've got 11 different scents. We've got attractants, and then we got bear attractants, which is grape and blueberry. We have red hot doe, which is our doe in a stress. We have doe bedding, which is kind of like a pre-rut kind of a spray. You can use it all season. And then, we have our attractants and cover scents, which is sweet corn, persimmon, white oak, acorn, red apple, peanut butter, sugar beets. And then my go-to is the dirt. We have a black dirt. I love to spray my clothes down with that, my boots down with it. I like to, if I put up a new stand, I'll spray all the straps with it. It smells just like you're turning up dirt. It is a fantastic product.
And that's a cover scent.
That is a cover scent. Yep. I spray that right on my duffel bag. Spray it on my hands if I'm going to be touching stuff. It's safe to be on your skin. The red hot doe, don't spray that on yourself. That could turn out pretty sour. But I've had bucks come right into me, and I spray that red hot doe, which is our stress, and about a 10-foot half moon right in front of my blind, my tree stand, about 10 yards. I had a buck come to me last year like he was on a string, and I honestly think he would not have stopped if he wouldn't have hit that wall, because he stopped, put his nose down, and he could not commit to one way or another because the scent was going both ways. And it confused him just long enough for me to get at full draw, and he turned sideways at 10 yards, and I ended up harvesting that 8-point. It was a beautiful hunt. So,
beautiful. Now, is that scent, is that urine-based? Can we use it in Michigan? I mean, obviously we can. You said you just used it.
Yeah, yes. So ours is synthetic,
okay,
right? Because I did some research, and right now there's 12 states in the United States that will not allow you to use natural deer urine. Because of
CWD, if I remember right, or the concern over.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yep. And now, in the majority of the states have regulations in CWD areas where you can't use it, which can be really confusing if you're that guy that wants to hunt to different areas or travel to different areas to hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So we went with a synthetic. It works great. There's no concerns of any state. You can use it. And I have a couple local shops out here that's selling the heck out of it. Keeps me busy, in the off season. It makes it easier not to hunt when I'm out in the pole barn with my chem set trying to get all this stuff mixed together. So
that's a picture I'd like to see. I'd love to see a picture of you in that environment. That'd be pretty cool.
I'll take one next time. I've got some probably in the cloud somewhere. It's a neat little setup. It's fun. You just sit out there, turn TV on in the barn, and the wife does not want me to mix the stress in the house.
No.
Completely understandable.
No. Hey, do you use that product? Do you use that on mock scrapes and licking branches too, or do you dribble it into real scrapes as well, or no?
Yes. So our bottle's got a 2.5 second continuous controlled mist. When you pull the trigger, it will continuously mist for 2.5 seconds. I spray those on scrapes. I will make a drag line. I've done that where you just saturate a rag and you kind of drag it behind you as you're going to your spot. That way, if the buck comes through, hopefully he'll follow it right to you. There's a ton of uses. The bottles are really cool. It's a cool design because it's a plastic sleeve on the inside of this bottle, so it actually creates a vacuum. So you're pulling all the product out of that bottle when you're using it. So you're not sitting there trying to dab the rest out. It pretty much pulls it all out.
Yeah, I'm really glad to hear that because usually, and I haven't priced yours, but usually these scents are not cheap, and I get nothing but frustrated when I still got some of that very expensive juice in the bottom there and I can't get it out.
That's right. Yeah, I hear that. No, and the nice thing about the synthetic, right, is it doesn't have to be refrigerated. You just got to let it not freeze. You don't want to get it real hot. But as long as it's in that bottle and it's sealed, that stuff will stay good for 2-3 years.
Really?
No problem.
Okay. So where do we get this, Rich?
So killerfoodplot.com. Online you can get it. All our scents are there. We have a couple of distributors. Backwoods Trading Post in Freeport's carrying it, and Shattuck's Great Outdoors just south of Ionia on M66 also has it in stock. So check those guys out.
But the go-to spot is the website, killerfoodplots.com, killerfoodplots.com. So you are going to... You're hunting with your daughter this weekend, and then will you actually get active about it now, too? Because, we're getting pretty close to the rut. You're going to get serious now?
Yeah, I'm going to disappear for the next 3 or 4 weeks, Mike. That's, I'm going to be a ghost around the house. It's definitely next week's going to be my go-to. Sunday, actually, I'm going to probably hunt tomorrow morning because I've got a target buck that's been showing up on Thursday morning pretty regularly. So I'm going to try that one tomorrow in a spot I haven't sat at all in a couple of years. So, it's time. It's go time.
It is go time. So I'm glad I got you now before you do disappear. I'm thinking about last week's full moon, even though, we saw a lot of buck activity during that full moon. Do you believe in moon phases?
I do. I actually print out a calendar for my area, and I don't go by it like by the book, right? Life gets busy, so it's not like you can take every opportunity. But, I was very tempted to hunt that last moon phase, and you're right, the daytime activity of the bucks was a lot more. So I do believe in that. But once rut comes, which we're real close, it's game on any time of the day, any kind of moon phase, so.
Yeah. And I always tell people too, and listen, I don't pretend to be an expert deer hunter by any means, but just my limited experience over the years, if you're going to pick a day when you're going to sit all day, and it's hard, really, it's hard to do an all day sit, but if you're going to do it, the next 10 days is probably the time to be thinking about it. Yeah,
it is. And that's another reason I don't like to hunt too early. It's so hot during the day, and it has been lately. When I go out now, if I go out in the morning, I might not come back till dark. I may sit the entire day.
You're hardcore,
Rich. That's just, that's the thing. Once I get out there, I love it. It's Mother Nature's TV. That's never a repeat, right? You can see the same animal every day, but it's still different. So.
Well, Rich, listen, I always enjoy our conversations. I'm actually going to get myself some of that spray. I'm going to get some of your cover spray that smells like dirt and your doe estrus. I'm going to get some of that as well and give it a try. I would encourage others to at least check it out. The website, killerfoodplots.com, killerfoodplots.com. And as we're making our calendar for the outdoors, don't forget, if you're in the southern part of the state and you've had problems with EHD in the past, take a look at this Aqua Shield. I really think, Rich, this could be a game changer for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. Mike, we didn't have, and I didn't find any deer out here in my area, and I treat my swamps. So, it is a game changer. It was terrible down in Battle Creek. There's a great video on our website, killerfoodplot.com. If you go to and click on Why Aqua Shield, there's a great video that it describes what it does. I saw that.
It is very good. Yes, do that. Go to killerfoodplots.com, click on that link. Rich, I got to let you go, but we'll be in touch. Well, not for the next 10 days we won't, because you're going to be out of sight. But have a good season, have a good rut, and we'll talk again.
You too, Mike. Thank you. Rich
Chrzan of Killer Food Plots, killerfoodplots.com. We'll take a break when we come back. Change our focus a little bit. We're going to do a little steelhead fishing in the rivers with Russ Clark of Seahawk Charters in St. Joe. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show and port here on WPHM 1380 AM. You can hear us on the other side of the state, Manistee, WMLQ 97.7 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Escanaba, WCHT 600 AM 93.5 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Killer Food Plots. We just talked to Rich Chrzan at length, so I won't go into too much detail about what they have to offer, but I would just ask you to keep in mind this Michigan-based family-owned company for products to help with the EHD problem, for better food plots, and for scents and attractants. I'm actually going to use some of their scents for the first time this fall. I will let you know how that goes. Again, the website, killerfoodplots.com. That's killerfoodplots.com. All right, I want to turn our attention now to some fall fishing. I had a Boy Scout troop from Indiana reach out to me, and they wanted to take a bunch of them fishing on the southwest part of the state, and they said, who do I recommend? I said, Russ Clark at Seahawk Charters, fishseahawk.com. And I thought, you know what? It'd actually be a good time to check in with Russ and see how the fishing is on the river down there in the St. Joe River. I think he's on the water with us today, but he's got a good cell. Hey, Russ, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm doing real good, but you're fishing, aren't you? So you're doing better than I am.
Yeah, I am, and it's what a beautiful fall we've had.
It has been beautiful. Does the weather affect the fall fishing at all? Do water temps, water levels affect you at all there, Russ?
Yeah, Mike. We're really in drought conditions, Mike. Water is very, very low, and that has made it for some tougher fishing. We're catching steelhead now, and we're getting kind of towards the end of the salmon run. They're getting pretty beat up now, and and being a warmer fall, some cooler water temperatures wouldn't hurt. That would definitely be helpful, but really could use some rain to bring some water into the river, because it is treacherous getting around right now in the river if you're not careful.
Okay. So higher water levels, cooler temps will be good to bring fish in, but you're also talking about it from a navigation perspective. A guy like you who's out there all the time, if you have to be careful, man, those weekend warriors must be running a gauntlet there.
They do, because there is spots in the river, Mike. You could run aground if you don't kind of know your way around and do, damage to the props and lower units and all that stuff you don't want to do. So it's biggest thing is just go slow. My theory is never go faster than what you want to hit something at, That's for sure. Yeah, exactly.
Are you running a jet drive then, Russ, or is normally the water high enough you don't have to worry about it?
No, I still run a prop, Mike. And I've seen more and more jets on the river too, but I'm still, this is actually my 40th year of guiding out of the St. Joe area, St. Joe River / Lake Michigan, but I'm still using the old school prop.
Well, Russ, I didn't know that. Congratulations. You've been doing this for 4 decades, so whatever you're using is working, and stick with it because you got it dialed in, buddy.
I always hope so, but it can be fishing, Mike. You know how that goes.
I do. Now, but talking about this low water, I suspect it's clear too. So you got low, clear water. Does that change where you have to target the fish then, Russ?
Well, the fish, when the steelhead first come in, they're generally going to be in and around below where salmon are bedding. I mean, that's like a natural magnet because the salmon are dropping eggs. So that's usually going to be in the shallower gravel areas where, you're looking for shallow, gravel, and current. Those are the 3 things you really need. And then, in and around salmon beds, if you can find those locations.
How was your summer season on the Big Lake?
The Lake Michigan fishing this summer was excellent. I mean, we had a lot of salmon pretty much all summer long, and the trout were there. Lake trout fishing was good. We got steelhead, but no complaints as far as the lake fishing went this past year. Was really good all the way through.
And then how late into the fall will you fish the river, Russ?
I will fish. I usually start fishing the river early October, late September, and then I'll fish it throughout the winter all the way till the early April, and then I move to the lake.
So you're fishing year round, then you're fishing all winter long. Do you have probably not the last few years, but does forgive my ignorance, I haven't fished the St. Joe in a long time. Does that river freeze up?
It can, but our winters have been quite mild.
Yeah.
So, I can remember years ago it used to freeze up for 3 weeks or a month, and a lot of times it doesn't even freeze up anymore. And I run like a 24-foot Carolina skiff, basically like a big flat bottom boat, but it's customized with a cover, and we have heat in it. So, no matter what the conditions are, you can stay comfortable in the boat.
So if somebody's looking for a great late season fall steelhead trip, they can come out with you, and you'll do your best to get them fish, but you're going to keep them comfortable.
Yep, absolutely.
All right,
yep.
Russ, listen, I got to let you go just because I'm out of time, and I know you're on the water, but I appreciate you taking time out from fishing to talk with me for a few minutes. I'll send people to your website, fishseahawk.com, fishseahawk.com, and maybe you and I will be talking again soon here on the Offshore Tackle podcast sometime too, Russ.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it, Mike.
I appreciate the fact you've made yourself available. Russ Clark of Seahawk Charters, fishseahawk.com, fishseahawk.com. And speaking of that offshore podcast, if you go to offshoretackle.com, search the podcast, and then once you're in there, do a search for Russ Clark, you'll hear several podcasts we've done with Russ as well. We'll take a break. When we come back, the Ask Avery segment as we wrap up hour 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us in Holland on WHTC 1450 AM and 99.7 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Manistee on WTIQ 1490 AM, 95.3 FM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by the good folks at Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. Now, this is your chance to get involved in the content of the show. Maybe a question you want me to answer directly, maybe something you want me to pass along to the powers that be that I might have access to that you don't. This week, it's kind of a double-sided thing. Sergeant Mike Mshar is actually joining us now on the phone line to talk about a couple of questions here. Sarge, how have you been? We haven't talked for a while. How you doing?
Yes, sir. I'm doing good. We're having a good fall, and things are ramping up for us.
Excellent. Now, remind me, are you working out of Lansing, or are you out in one of the districts?
Nope. So I'm in District 3, which is the Gaylord District.
Oh, and, that's a good district to be in.
The North Country, yep.
Elk Country.
Elk Country, yes, that's correct.
Excellent. And you got another fall hunt coming up when?
December. I believe it's December 13th or 14th is the first day.
I gotcha. All right, a couple things I want to talk about, Mike. There was some activity on the mentored hunting license. I'm not really clear on this. Can you help me? Can you help us figure it out what it is? I know it's good. Sure. It's positive, right?
It's a great thing. So basically, the mentored license was enabled for somebody who, let's say they wanted to try hunting out, or they hadn't taken hunter safety yet, and as long as they were hunting with a mentor, they could go out, they could purchase their licenses, they could sit with that mentor who was 21 years or older, and they could hunt. The problem was they could do it for 2 years. I shouldn't say problem, but the issue was they could do it for 2 years, and then once that 2 years was done, let's say I'm going to keep hunting. I enjoy this. I love it. The whole idea was to get them started in it, but then they have to take hunter safety, which is great. I mean, that's an important part of moving forward. However, there was a tiny little area that people were being excluded, and I never paid much attention to it. I've been a conservation officer since 2006, and I actually have 2 boys with Down syndrome. So it kind of slapped me right in the face when it happened. So my son, who is now he's 22, my oldest son, he finished up his 2 years as a mentor. So we had to move on to hunter safety, and he could not pass the written exam. He's got the ability to go out and hunt as long as I'm with him. He has, he's no different than you and I. He wants to enjoy that sport and be just like us and do the things that we take for granted. And so I was like, hey, what's going on here? How do I, what do I do here? And I started knocking on doors, sending emails within the divisions, and trying to figure this out. And nobody really had an answer. And I don't think it was anybody's fault that they didn't have an answer. Just maybe the topic never came up, or maybe it was never presented correctly. So we started working on it. We said, what are we going to do here? We've got an issue. Because I knew Alex wasn't the only one. I'm sure there was other, men and women that with these disabilities that had the same problem. So fast forward, took us probably, I think, around 4 years after having a work group and different, groups within the divisions come together. We were able to get a bill put together and then get it off to get it sponsored. That was the tough part, getting a legislator to sponsor it. I learned a lot about politics in that period, a lot of frustration.
Probably more than you wanted to learn.
Yeah, it was. And I sent a lot of emails all the way up, to the director and just said, listen, this is wrong. This shouldn't be taking this long. But anyways, got a legislator to sponsor it. I'm going to say his name wrong, but it's Abraham Aish.
Okay.
He is on District 9, and he sponsored it. And once it got sponsored, we moved to a committee. And then the really neat thing here was I went down as a representative for the DNR, but then my son went down as well to testify in front of the committee of the importance of this. Really a neat experience.
Mike, I had no idea you were so intimately involved in this.
Well, I tell you what, I always have been. I was part of Special Olympics in my early years in law enforcement, and then having the 2 boys with Down syndrome, I try to be a spokesperson for those that can't be a spokesperson.
And look at what you guys have accomplished now. So you've solved this problem now, right?
Yeah, it's solved. We got it passed through. July 23rd is when it passed. The licenses went on sale September 13th, and they're a really neat package. It's called the Inclusive Mentor Package, or the Mentor Inclusive Package.
Beautiful. Well, nice work on that, Mike, and thanks for bringing us up to speed. Before we run out of time, one quick question for you that I've had a hard time getting answered, if you don't mind. It's regarding to an e-bike. He says, are we allowed to have a weapon strapped to an e-bike to go hunting in Michigan like you can with a four-wheeler? What's the answer to that, Mike?
Sure. So the answer is simple, but it's not simple. They're not a four-wheeler, they're not a snowmobile, and they're not a motor vehicle. So they're in that gray area. There's nothing in the law as far as, the firearm on them or within them that is defined right now. I'm sure it's going to happen. So basically right now, yes, you could. The only thing we would say is obviously follow all safety procedures. If you have a case, if you have something that'll hold it securely, but there is no reason why you can't at this point.
Beautiful. Mike, you've answered a couple of great questions, and you answered them so easily. I don't know why I didn't reach out to you in the first place.
Oh, it's all good. Can I mention one real quick thing about that mentor?
Yeah, real quick.
Real quick. It's only available at the customer service centers and online. So if somebody wants it, they got to do it at the customer service centers, the DNR places, or online. That's it.
Okay, got it. I appreciate you bringing that in. Sergeant Mike Mshar, thanks for joining us, and congrats on the good work on this. And again, thank you to the folks at Security Credit Union for making these Ask Avery segment possible. SecurityCU.org. Oh, man. I had no idea Sergeant Mike Mshar was one of the guys who helped push this through. Very, very impressive. Great work. We'll take a break for the top of the hour. When we come back, Paul Phillips, extreme long-range shooting expert, and Chef Dixie Dave Miner.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Eider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
It is the big guy, Mike Avery. Welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on 33 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And so glad to have you along with us as we continue to work our way through the month of Rocktober. Now, I'm looking at the weather forecast. As we're sitting here in the studio, the temperatures look like they're going to drop a little bit. But as I look in the rearview mirror here, the last several days have been kind of crazy. I mean, it feels more like early September than third week of October. But that's okay, right? I mean, all we can do is deal with what Mother Nature gives us. We can't do anything about it. We can talk about it. We can complain about it, but we can't change the weather. But it is the time of year when there are some pretty cool things going on. I mean, I keep thinking about this whitetail rut coming up. And again, I don't pretend to be much of a deer hunter anymore, though I'm having a certain amount of success in renewing my interest in deer hunting. And it started out here a couple of weeks ago. I was able to shoot a nice big doe with my crossbow, and that was my goal for the season. My goal for the season was to shoot a big doe, and I did. And now I'm looking forward to basically, I'm buck hunting now, right, with my crossbow for the next few weeks. And then when firearm season comes around, I'm going to pick up that Brenton 350 Legend. I used that Brenton for my Michigan bear. I had put a new scope on it, and it was my first time hunting with a suppressor. And I was really impressed what that 350 did on that bear. It was only 70 yards away, but it was a very, very effective tool to put that bear down. And now I want to see what that thing is going to do on a Michigan whitetail buck. Now, the range that I will be taking that shot at is very close. I can't see myself taking a shot of more than 100, 150 yards. Even though the gun is capable of it, I don't know if I am. When I start thinking about long-range shooting, there's a guy who comes to mind, and he's, over these 40-some years I've been doing this, I have been blessed to meet a lot of very, very interesting people. But I got to be honest, Paul Phillips is right near the top of that list. I've known Paul for a long time. I knew him back when he's got a pretty interesting career, and I'll let him talk about it if he wants to. But these days, in my opinion, he is the number one ambassador for the concept, the activity, the passion of extreme long-range shooting. I'm not talking about shooting out to 200 yards. I'm talking about shooting a long distance. And Paul is on the phone line right now. Paul, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Great. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing good, but I got to tell you something. You are my hero. Every time I get a text from you, I don't know where it's going to be. This last time I see a picture of you in front of the Vatican. Where else are you going to go?
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind of traveling this year. We're doing a world tour with one of my clients and out of Michigan. And, we went to, let's see, France, Sicily, South Africa, and the next stop is Chile.
Did you dream when you were a kid growing up on a farm in mid-Michigan, did you ever dream where this journey would take you?
Not in a million years. No, I never thought that I'd be traveling the world shooting rifles and, making money doing that. I mean, it's been a blessing. And, I'm in my retirement mode, if you can call it that. But, no, it's great because it allows me to keep doing what I love to do and make some money doing it to provide for my family. And then also it keeps me fresh in the realm of shooting in the industry with rifles and components and, keep doing what I love, and then obviously it crosses over into the hunting, which that's my passion.
When you were a young man and you joined the Marine Corps, was your talent for shooting, is that when it became obvious to you?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, as a kid though, even just shooting BB guns at pop cans and then pellet guns and then later, 30-30s and whatnot. I mean, I was always a pretty good shot. I just never knew what that meant, right? I had no way of measuring how good I was. I knew I was pretty good because I always hit my targets I was aiming at. But I guess it wasn't until the Marine Corps where I could actually have some type of measurement where I would qualify. I was usually the highest in my platoon, and then later on, after getting out of the Marine Corps, making the U.S. rifle team and setting national records and winning world championships, obviously then I knew that I had a gift, but it found me, right? I didn't necessarily go looking for it. It just kind of naturally found me, and I was able to be aware of it and, follow my dreams.
Okay, so you admit in some ways this is a God-given gift. You have honed it, and you have, I don't want to say perfected it, but you're moving that direction. What about somebody who wasn't blessed with this gift? Can they learn to become a long-range shooter?
I think so, yeah. I mean, we proved it with you, Mike. I mean, you went out within a couple shots, you shot a mile, no problem.
Hey,
so
listen, I'd like to think I was blessed with this gift too, so don't put me in that category.
Well, no, I mean,
I'm
what I'm
kidding.
saying is,
I know. I'm kidding.
You didn't even you've never shot that far in your
Never,
life, and
never.
First time, So, I do think that there's some natural abilities that you have to have, obviously, and you presented them as well. But there's a part of the science behind it where you have to understand all the ballistic solutions, the encounter elevation, environmentals, windage. There's all that too, right?
Well, and to be honest, when I popped that red ball at a mile, you guys had it all set up. All I had to do was lay behind the gun, settle the crosshair, and squeeze. I didn't have to do the leg work or the mental calculations that led up to that.
No, but you did. You did drive the rifle. You did have a nice, easy squeeze, and you had consistent shoulder pressure and cheek pressure and hand pressure and your position. I mean, those are things that you have to have as well. I mean, you can take the best shooting rifle in the world and have the best ballistics, but if the person isn't driving the rifle correctly, you're not going to hit nothing. So you did your part too. It takes everything.
That was the shooting with you guys that night. That was the first time I had ever seen a suppressor in action on a rifle too. I've since put one on my Brent 350 Legend. I do it for noise protection, although at this point it's probably too late. How does that affect your accuracy when you put a can on the end of a barrel?
I've tested for GSL technology out of Jackson, Michigan-based company for a long time, and I've seen actually increased accuracy and noise reduction at the same time. So I have cans on all my hunting rifles. I'm a firm believer. I wish I would have done it years ago, just like you. It's kind of a late in the game, but I'll at least preserve what I have left, right, of hearing, and it's, as you know, it's awesome. I mean, shooting that rifle with a suppressor on it, it just saves your hearing, man. You don't have that big loud ringing for days,
I was actually surprised that the suppressor when I shot that bear was louder than I expected. Now I know that I can experiment with some subsonic ammo and get it down to a whisper.
Oh yeah.
But the 180 grain Winchester that I used on that bear was so effective, Paul, that I'm really kind of reluctant or hesitant to try something else because I feel like I got it fairly well dialed in for what I need right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't change anything. I would just stay with whatever's shooting well. I would just stick with that. Sometimes when it's completely quiet, especially if you're inside of a building or a room with a can, a lot of times we watch movies and people think, oh, you won't be able to hear it. No, there's still sound there, but it's much less than what it would be with no can, where it would just blow your eardrums and then you'd hear ringing for a couple of days. But when it's completely quiet in your hunting environment, it's going to be a noise. It's not going to be like in the movies where you just hear a whisper.
Sure.
Unless you use subsonic. But with subsonic, you're losing the energy, Mike.
That's what I'm concerned about, yes.
Yeah, so I think that having a good supersonic load that has good energy for a bear or deer, whatever you're hunting, I think that's just fine. And you can still, not have ear protection and listen for your game and whatnot. It's still quiet enough to not hurt your ears.
You've, I got to take a break here in just a second, but you've played around quite a bit with that 350. Have you tried the other straight wall, the 41 Great Lakes or 450, anything like that?
I have both the 450 and the 350 Legend, and they're wonderful.
What's your preferred for Michigan whitetail? Either one?
350 Legend all the way.
Now, why is that?
It just kicks less. It's really accurate. And, in a weird way, I can't explain it, all my shots on deer, they've been dispatched immediately. Like they haven't went very far.
Yeah.
Versus a 450 Legend. And could be coincidence, but man, that thing, even my friends say that they've had really good luck with, not having to track the deer very far.
Excellent. Well, that's what I'm hoping for. Paul, we got to take a break. Let me make sure I got what you tell me, what is the website you want me using these days to promote what you're doing?
It's gpgtraining.com.
There we go. That's the one I was looking for. GPG Training. That's Global Precision Group. GPGtraining.com. Okay. Very good. Paul, we got to take a break. I would encourage people to go there. When we come back, I want to talk to you more about what you're shooting these days to set these world records, and we'll bring it back to a hunting perspective here in Michigan too, how we as Michigan deer hunters can learn from a guy like Paul Phillips, because he's obviously very knowledgeable and he's very willing to share that knowledge, and I appreciate that a lot. Paul Phillips, gpgtraining.com. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Ludington on News 97, 98, 98.7 WLDN. You can hear us in St. Joe, WSJM 94.9 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Iron Mountain, WMIQ 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Reader Landscaping. The folks from Reader were at my house, I think, twice this past week. They were doing some late season fertilizing. And something. Oh, and they were also doing the flower beds, hitting them one last time, the ornamental beds and flower beds to get us ready for fall. They're coming out next week to blow out, there's 2 weeks maybe, to blow out the sprinkler system. I really wanted to push that off. You know, I mean, when it was getting cold like that, I was starting to get nervous, but they said, no, you'll be okay. The reason I wanted to keep the water turned on is they put a water feature in our patio several years ago, and we really enjoy that, and I wanted to push that back as far into the fall as possible. Fall pruning, fall maintenance, fall holiday containers. You know, they can make those up and they can drop them right off at your house. I used to say for every hour the Reader folks were at my house, it was another hour I could spend in the woods or on the water. But talking to Paul Reader, he says, no. Think about it this way. It's probably 2, 3, or 4 hours that you gain. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, yeah, when you go out in the yard, you know what you're doing, you know how you want it done, but you're using a certain amount of tools and you're one guy. We bring in multiple guys with professional grade equipment, and they can get it done much more efficiently than you can. I'm like, bingo, even more of a reason to have the Reader folks come out. Check them out online at readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. While you are online, check out my website, please. It's MikeAveryOutdoors.com. It's not nearly as interesting as GPGtraining.com. That's the website of Paul Phillips, extreme long-range shooting master. He's an expert. Paul, remind me, what's the longest documented shot that you've made?
We've did 4 miles. Yeah, 4 miles. It was an exhibition shot and just to test equipment and our ballistics and just a bunch of different aspects behind extreme long range shooting.
Paul, is your target even in the same place it was when you let the bullet fly at that distance? Isn't the Earth rotating? Isn't there something called some kind of a weird effect in there?
Yeah, Coriolis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's a lot of factors involved with your environment and science. It's kind of neat. And if you want it to be, I mean, it can get very involved. If you take it to the level that you are, you're using computers, you're using wind, weather observation tools. I mean, you've got it dialed in to make a shot that far. Yeah. I mean, it's getting to the point now where you got phone apps, right, that your hunters and recreational shooters can use, just upload on their phones, and it's very applicable even to your hunting this year with your Legend. I mean, there's stuff that's available to the public that everybody, your common hunter, can use all the time and in hunts, even out to 100, 200, 300 yards to make sure that you have a good shot on your target.
When I sighted that 350 in, I got the top crosshair is it's got a multi crosshair reticle. The top one is at 100. The third one down is 200, and the middle one is about 150. So it's pretty much all I need it to be. But you're right; they're making it. The manufacturers and companies are making it easier for hunters and shooters these days, I think.
Absolutely, I would encourage everybody to make sure that they go to the range and they verify their ammunition and those lines, because if you get a different box of ammo, the different weight bullet, it'll all be different trajectory. So you want to verify that before you go hunting. So if it was me, I would take the Legend out if I were you, and I would shoot it at, let's say, 50, 100, 150, 200, and I don't know how far you have to hunt, but I would shoot as far as that you feel comfortable with, but just to make sure that those lines are lining up with where you want to shoot. Because, you know, once you see that big buck and he is maybe not in the perfect position, you might have to pinpoint that shot, and maybe with brush in the way or trees in the way or branches, you might have to slip it through the woods, and you want to make sure that that shot is accurate as it can be, and you want to verify it all. That's all.
And I agree with you completely, and I appreciate you bringing this up. We need to be as accurate and proficient as possible because we owe that to the animals that we're hunting. But I got to go back to a question here. If I have this thing zeroed at 100, won't it be dead on at 50 as well, or might it be high?
No, it's probably going to be high at 50. Yeah.
Okay.
But again, you want to make sure you validate it all. It may not matter as much if let's say you have a, 6 or 8 inch circle that you want to stay in, no matter what distance you're aiming, right? A nice kill zone.
Yeah.
As long as you're within that kill zone, it may not matter as much. But if you're, like I said, if you're trying to pinpoint a shot and you want to be extremely accurate, and it's a really big buck, and you definitely don't want to mess up, you want to go verify all these zeros, we call them, at 50 and 100, and write it down or have it on a little piece of paper on your gun or whatever to remind yourself so you don't forget. But you want to make sure you have that figured out, just so that when the shot does present itself, you have everything lined up and you're doing everything as best you can.
Exactly. Give you confidence and be as good as you possibly can. When you go out into the Michigan whitetail woods with your 350, how far will you shoot on a whitetail buck?
Well, where I hunt, I can shoot probably out to 150 yards is as far as I can shoot with where I'm at, because I'm on some private property down south, and that's about as far a shot as I can take in my southern spot. And that's a good range. How far could I shoot if I wanted to extend it? I probably feel comfortable going out to 200 to 250 with that 350 Legend. I always say, and this goes way back in the 90s when we did the TV show, and that question was presented to me, how far I would shoot as far as I can consistently group with what animal I'm shooting at. So I would say with a whitetail deer, a 6-inch group would be pretty good for me. If I can maintain a consistent group within 6 inches, as long as you can do that at whatever distance, I would feel comfortable with that range. So I would say with a 350 Legend, 200, 250 would be probably my limit. Once you get 300 and beyond, it drops so much that, you want to be consistently shooting them ranges. So I would say, 250, I'm thinking.
So what caliber are you using to shoot the long distances these days? Because I know that's evolved over the process.
Yeah, so we have classes. When I was on the U.S. rifle team, we were shooting 1,000 yards, and that was with a 308 bolt gun. So, I've got 20-some years of competing with a 308 out to 1,000 yards. And then beyond that, 1,500 yards and 2 miles, there's a light gun class, which is a 338 caliber or below. And I'm using a 330 or 33XC out to 3,000 yards. And then the long shots that are going from 1 to 2 miles at the King of 2 Mile this year, I took 5th in New Mexico, and I was using a 416 Barrett. And that's the cartridge that we're using to shoot 2, 3, and 4 miles. It's shooting a 550 grain bullet at around 3,100 feet per second.
So I used to think of, snipers, extreme long-range shot with snipers were 50 cal. Is that still being used today, or is that obsolete?
They're in the realm, but I think the more accurate choice would probably be the 338 Lapua or the 375 Chi-Tac. Those are more enabler, 330, and 375 enabler. There's some other choices that are a little bit better, I think. The 50 cal originally was designed for, more of like armor, reinforced positions and armored positions to poke a hole through the, armored vehicles and whatnot.
Sure.
But for sniping, they're more, 308, 300 Win Mag, 300 Norma, 338 Lapua. That's more the cartridges that military and law enforcement are using for sniping these days.
So again, not to get too much into your business, and I'll let you tell me what you want, but what are you doing these days? Are you training law enforcement? You training government? You training hunters? What are you doing, Paul?
Yeah, I'm doing a little bit of everything. I'm training hunters, competitive shooters, doing the world tour with my client, and then I just got done doing Columbus SWAT snipers. That was a real joy to go down there. They have full-time snipers, and they do everything from, high-risk warrants to helping out the Secret Service during the presidential election to, all sorts of things. So that was a joy to go down there, and they are also getting involved in the science of accuracy and getting more equipped with better technology. And then, I'm doing some hunting training too. And they're also, getting involved with the science of accuracy. And, it's really a joy when I go and people are not familiar with all the technologies out there. And then literally within a couple hours, they're making shots out to 1,000 yards on command and making impacts all the way out from 100 to 1,000 yards, making it look easy. And they just have a big smile on their face and they say, wow, I never realized, they never realized the technology that's out there and how to use it. So, we're going by leaps and bounds, with the technology.
I love that term, science of technology, and don't get nervous. I'm not going to mention names, but you work with some pretty high profile clients. You sent me a picture a while ago with a couple of guys. I'm like, holy cow, Paul Phillips, look at the circles you're traveling in now.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I'm getting to meet some pretty cool people and traveling the world, and it's been fun. But obviously my roots are home, and as much as I'm having fun, I'm really glad to be home for a month now. So I'm going to be doing, a couple, 2 or 3 weeks of bow hunting, and then gun season starts. So I'm going to be here for the next month, and I get every day to go hunting, and I'm really excited to do that. And hopefully we can get out with your Legend and go through that test and see what it can do, get you ready for season.
That would be wonderful, Paul. I'm glad you get a little downtime now. Good luck in the woods. I will look forward to a picture that you're going to send me, either a nice buck with your bow or a nice buck with your gun, but it's going to happen. Send it to me, and I will post it. I always enjoy our conversations. The website, gpgtraining.com, gpgtraining.com. Paul Phillips, you are truly one of the best in the world at what you do. You are an interesting guy, and I'm glad to call you my friend.
Oh, thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I love what you do, and you're a huge part of our life, for getting us, entertained in the industry and what's going on in the world with hunting in Michigan. And
appreciate that, Paul. Got to let you go, though. Paul Phillips right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Muskegon on WKBZ. That's 1090 AM. You can hear us on the other side of the state in Tawas, WIOS 1480 AM, 106.9 FM. And you can hear us in Saginaw on WSGW AM and FM, 790 AM, 100.5 FM. I'm in the studios of WSGW right now. In fact, I'm here with the man himself, Charlie Rood. You hear it? Charlie. They're out there. Charlie, I want you to look out. They're out there. Look, I'm serious. You see them out there? You do, don't you? There are several vehicles out there now. At first, I thought it was a political rally. I thought somebody was here because they're holding signs. They're chanting, Charlie. Charlie, you're an icon. You're a legend. You're a broadcasting legend, and I appreciate you helping me. His face is red now. I appreciate you helping me out with this show. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Truck Trolley. I can't tell you enough about this. This is one of those things that I use every day. Truck Trolley is a removable sliding bed that goes into the bed of your truck. It goes over the existing bed. It's strapped in there. It's not bolted in, so it's not permanent. If you need to take a load of gravel or sand or whatever, you just take it out of the way. I use mine every day. I don't care if it's hunting gear, if it's fishing gear, if it's golf clubs, if it's groceries. I find myself walking around to the back of that Garber's Trail Boss, dropping the tailgate, pulling out my truck trolley and getting something off it so I don't have to crawl way up into the front of the bed of the truck. The website for that is trucktrolley.com, trucktrolley.com. And I want to follow up on this. Andy Weiss is the guy that I deal with at Truck Trolley. He's a really, really, really great guy. I like him a lot. I just got a text from him this morning. He said, "Hey, Mike, I just wanted to let you know that because of your HSS segment the other week." Now, HSS is Hunter Safety System. He said, "Their gear saved me this weekend. The bottom of my climber gave way as I was climbing up, and the HSS system kept me in the tree. His vest kept him in the tree." He said, "I got some bruises, a bloody nose, and scuff marks, but I was safe to hunt another day." Wow. I sent that off. I hope you don't mind, Andy. I sent it off to Jerry Widener of the Hunter Safety System. He is one of the guys who helped form the company. Jerry says, "Thank you, Mike, for sharing. It's stories like Andy's that humble me and motivates me to stay focused on what could otherwise be considered a monotonous day at work. I'm grateful for all the circumstances where our products have made a difference." I've been saying this for years. I don't hunt out of a tree stand anymore other than a ladder stand, but there were a lot of years when I was in some pretty squirrely situations up there, and the only reason I dared to go up there was because I had a Hunter Safety System vest on, and I used a lifeline. Now, a lifeline is a rope that is attached above your stand and goes all the way to the ground. If you attach your vest, your Hunter Safety System, or whatever, pick a brand name, if you attach that to the lifeline, and you attach it at the ground, you go up the tree while you're hunting and back down, you can't fall. Well, no, you can fall, but you can't hit the ground. And it's the hitting the ground part that's the worst, right? There are two types of tree stand hunters. If you hunt enough from a tree stand, there are two types of hunters. Those who have fallen and those who will. Now, hopefully, your fall might be just a little thing where you lose your balance. You start to fall, you're able to grab the tree. I'm considering that a fall, right? You were out of control for a split second, but it scared the heck out of you, didn't it? I've done that before, and it's not a good feeling, but it is a good feeling to know that you can protect yourself. You might still be young and agile and climb like a monkey and think you are still Superman and nothing can ever hurt you. I'm here to tell you that ain't the case. If you won't do this for yourself, do it for your family. You know, there's somebody out there that depends on you. So please wear a full body harness from the time you leave the ground until you come back down. And the fact that Andy dealt with this was, you know, and he said it was because of a conversation with Jerry Widener from HSS that made him do that. So that means a lot to me, and I appreciate that when people reach out like that. And Andy, I appreciate you working with me on the truck trolley. That is really a very, very nice product. Okay, a couple more things. Wednesday night coming up, the 30th, I will do a Wednesday night live at Jay's Sporting Goods in Clare at 7 o'clock. Please tune in for that. That's part of their deer camp kickoff as we get ready for the firearm deer season. Another date to keep in mind, and this one's down the road, but we have set a date for the second annual Mike Avery Outdoors charity golf outing. It is Friday, July 25th. We were able to move it to a Friday now. The first event was on a Monday. It was not the best day, but it's the only day we could get the course. This year now, we have an established track record, and it's Friday, July 25th. Put that on your calendar, and from now on, it will be the last Friday in July. So how cool is that? So keep that in mind. That's at the West Branch Country Club, by the way. Oh, I forgot to talk about this. Now I'm out of time. I got a chance to see the new Angler Quest, QUEST, lineup of boats. Mr. Angler Quest, Brad Dupuis, is keeping the big Pro Troll. He's keeping the big family fish, but he has introduced 3 new smaller boats for inland lakes. They're called Panfish editions, and they are more budget-friendly and designed for people who really don't want to put the money into the big water boats. So I think it's pretty cool. Keep an eye out for what's going on there. We'll take a break here. When we come back, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. This week, he has a recipe. Last week, he was telling the story of his big buck. This week, I think we've got a recipe. I don't know what it is, but probably should be small game or waterfowl or deer. Only Dixie Dave knows, but we'll find out after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. Thank you so much for joining us this week here on the Outdoor Magazine radio show. I do certainly appreciate it. Also appreciate the fact that wild game chef extraordinaire, good friend of mine, great guy, makes himself available every week to wrap up the show. He's with us once again. Last week we didn't have a recipe because Dave told the story about shooting his big, beautiful whitetail buck. I don't think there's any excuses this week, though, Dave. I think you got to have something for us.
You're right. I do. I have Mike's favorite steak of poivre. I know. I get a moan out of you.
You know what? I never knew what that was. I didn't know the term. I didn't know the concept. And then you started making that for me, and I fell in love with it, Dave.
It's a great dish, isn't it? I love it.
Oh, it certainly is. Yeah, walk us through it because my mouth is starting to water and I can't talk anymore.
Okay, a poivre is the way French say pepper.
And you know I love pepper.
I guess it's a pepper steak. So you need about 8 to 10 ounces of tender steak per person, a 12-ounce package of mushrooms, a jar of beef gravy, a couple, three cloves or more, depending on your taste for garlic, a medium onion diced nice and fine, a couple ounces of bourbon, you really need the bourbon, so it's a really addition to it. A couple ounces of heavy cream, lots and lots of black pepper that you're going to crush up with the back of a frying pan or a meat mallet. You can put it between saran wrap or paper and pound it down, flour and some olive oil. So what you want to do is trim the steak, make sure that there's no fat left on it, and you want to put it between saran wrap and pound it down with a meat mallet. So it's about 3/8 of an inch thick, so that because it'll actually draw back up a little bit once you start to cook it. And then you're going to take on a cutting board. It works best with a wooden board. You're going to take and lay out your pepper in a single layer, and then take the back of a frying pan and crush it. Squeeze down as hard as you can. Once you get the idea of it, it comes pretty easy to you, and you want a lot of it. And then what you're going to do is going to push very hard into the steaks after they're pounded, and then you're going to dredge it in flour. And that flour is going to help adhere the pepper to the meat, in a very, very hot saute pan with a little bit of olive oil. Don't put the oil in until the pan is nice and hot, and then have the steaks ready to go, because it'll smoke and you might have a little different of a flavor. And so you want to sear the steaks on both sides. And leave the peppercorns, whatever, fall off in the pan. And so you want to, after you get them done on both sides, you want to remove the steaks while they're still nice and rare, because you pounded them down a little bit, and they're going to cook real fast. So you don't want to do this for very long. So after the steaks are out, you want to add the garlic and the onions and saute that up. And then you don't want to burn that. You just want to get it nice and golden brown. And then when the onions are transparent, you can add the mushrooms and stir saute that for just a little while to get the mushrooms done. And away from the stove, you want to add the bourbon. Let that simmer down. And if you want to light it with a barbecue lighter, by all means, do it away from your stove, because you don't want that poof of fire to go up into your grates that are catching the grease. Add the beef gravy to your liking, how much, and reduce it fast so it's thick and creamy. Then add the heavy cream. And that heavy cream is going to finish this, and it's going to give it a nice sheen to it also, because of the heavy butter fat that's in it. And you want to cook that down to about a half volume. Return the steaks and just warm them up. Don't forget, they're going to continue cooking after you took them out of the pan. So however rare to medium rare you like it, don't overcook them. And you can serve this with some kind of a potato or rice or anything. And if you have any sauce left over, use that for your side dish too. This is one of my very favorite recipes of all. That and the one with capers. I love that. We'll do that one next week.
Well, this is my all-time favorite Dixie Dave recipe. When you got pepper and bourbon and venison, what can go wrong? Nothing.
Nothing. It's got to be just great.
And it is. Now, David, what page is this in the cookbook?
It's not in the cookbook. This is just one that I developed after writing the cookbook.
Well, it is certainly a good one. Man, I haven't had it for a while now. I'm picturing this. I can smell it. I can taste it. But we can make this at home, Dave.
Well, yeah. You got plenty of venison, Mike. So why don't you? Or you can't use bear, but the venison that you got, the dough, would make a wonderful steak of pork.
Why couldn't you use bear?
Well, bear is one of them meats that you have to have cooked in liquid. You know, just to throw a bear steak on the barbecue, it's not going to be conducive to tenderness.
I got you. Yep.
You know, it's bear needs to be simmered in a liquid, like pot roast or something like that.
Gotcha.
Or stew.
Oh, good. Oh, bear stew, yeah. All right, David, you made my day with talking about venison au poivre. I appreciate that. Appreciate your time. And I will look forward to talking with you next week, and you can surprise us with another great recipe.
Oh, we're going to have a caper recipe.
No, you didn't surprise me then. You told me what it is.
All right.
Listen, I'll act surprised next week, okay?
Okay, good idea.
Wild game chef extraordinaire, Dixie Dave Miner, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show, as are you, because if you weren't listening, there'd be no reason for me to do this. Check out the website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Wednesday night live at Jay's Sporting Goods to kick off deer camp. That's Wednesday the 30th at 7 o'clock. I hope you can join me online then. Have a great week.